Hey there, all you ghouls and goblins. Radio 85.9 proudly presents Horror Zoid with your hosts, Stevie Scares and Natalie Nightmare, talking all things horror from the 80s, 90s, and today. Today's episode is brought to you by Reaper Records. Music so good you'll want to dance till you're dead. Reaper Records. Pump up the motherfucking volume. It's time for another episode of Horror Zoid, everybody. I'm Stevie Scares.
And I'm Natalie Nightmare.
This is going to be a really fun episode. I know I say that every week, but I mean it every week.
I think we always have fun.
We have a good time, and hopefully you guys have a good time. But after last week's episode, we ended our decade of horror in the 2000s, talking about the awesome fucking music in horror movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
One of my favorite discussions that we've had, and it got our gears turning. Let's just talk about more music and horror movies. I don't hear enough people talk about music and horror and the connection, because to me, it's like they're hand in hand.
Absolutely, they complete it.
Right, they're soulmates. Like horror isn't horror without good music.
Exactly.
Not that I'm sure there's great movies out there that feature little to no music. We talk about some of our favorite jump scares are the ones without music.
Yeah.
But also there's some really good ones where they do have a good sound cue or music. And it all hinges on stuff like good composition, a good composer, good instrumentals going on in the vicinity of the song. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I'm with you. It's we're gonna walk through it all, but basically what Stevie is saying is the scene in Hereditary when she's like floating up into the treehouse, wouldn't it be the same with like clown car music?
Exactly.
So, you get it.
And we'll get to more of that, what makes music and horror go so well together. But before we do that, let's get our housekeeping shit out of the way.
Get it the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we're not going to bore you guys too much with it. Usual stuff, though. Leave us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast, preferably a 5-star review.
Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those help us so much. And if you really fucking hate us and you have to leave a 1-star review, it is what it is.
Fair's fair.
We're always saying you can praise us or hate us, but yes, those reviews, especially if it's a 4 or 5-star review or whatever fucking rating I guess they are anymore, definitely helps us grow our audience, grow the Zoid army, and get this cool fun shit to more people.
Yeah, the more you help us out, the longer we get to do this. So if you're enjoying the show, you can really help us out by leaving us a review. Again, preferably 5 stars. But be honest, if you think we suck, let us know. That's how we improve. Speaking of telling us we suck, don't forget you can email us at horrorzoidpod@gmail.com. Anything you want to send us, preferably what we really want, what I'm waiting for is a good scary story.
Me too.
I want a good scary story in our inbox. I want to open that fucking Gmail inbox with all of its stupid Google colors. And I want to open it up and I want to see somebody like, this scared the shit out of me.
Yes, I want those.
Right. Send those our way. horrorzoidpod@gmail.com. Anchor changed a few things. So normally we say leave us a voice message. But honestly, I got to look into what they changed because I don't think you can do it the same way you used to. I don't think it's going to be a link in the description anymore. Yeah. But there is a link in the description for financially contributing to the podcast. We've talked about it. We do plan on opening up a Patreon this year with some cool shit, cool ideas. Send us some ideas to horrorzoidpod@gmail.com. But in the link in this description, you can financially contribute to the podcast through Anchor. Send us a few dimes. Send us $1. Send us $1 million, We're always asking for it every week.
Yeah.
Nobody sent us $1 million yet.
Obviously, we're still sitting in our 2-bedroom apartment going, hello, where's our $1 million?
Where is that $1 million? We're waiting for it. For everything else, go to HorrorZoidPod. Not HorrorZoidPod. Go to HorrorZoid.com. We actually got the rights to HorrorZoid.com. Yeah. So go there. Yeah. Go HorrorZoid.com. You can find all our social media links. You can find all the links to listen to the podcast. So if you get pissed off with one of these podcast places, one of these crazy shit like Podbean or whatever. No diss to Podbean, but if Podbean pisses you off, go to our HorrorZoid.com website. All the links are up there. You can find out where to listen to us if you get fed up with somebody. I've got us out there fucking everywhere at this point.
And don't forget, for those who don't know, every week we also the day that the episode drops every Saturday, we post a YouTube video.
That's right.
It's usually just like a cool looping aesthetic of some kind, whether it's creepy or it's just kind of visually stimulating. Sometimes I throw little Easter eggs in those videos, or I just, I don't know, I get something up my ass and I'm like, I want to make this one a little extra cool. So if you checked into last week's 2000s where it's kind of a fun little opening, thank you for like the 8 people who look at it. But it's there for archive, and it's if you just want something on in the background on your TV, it's there. So don't forget about YouTube as well.
One thing I love listening back to us on YouTube. That's my preferred method because I'm a millennial, like, you know, both of us are. I think we just got used to YouTube. Like,
Right.
YouTube is just such a comfort zone for millennials
Yeah.
that I love going to YouTube. And yes, Natalie, who is the head of the Horrorzoid art department, unless you haven't figured that out, she works really hard on those YouTube videos every week, and it shows. And I love them. I enjoy them. Obviously, I'm a little biased, though. You know, but yeah, she does a great job, works really hard on them. So definitely go check those out. They're a lot of fun, even for us creating them, making them, and then seeing the final product. It's
Right.
really fun. So yeah, definitely check that out. We would love to get some more people, more subscribers on YouTube. I think there's definitely some value in that. We could
Yeah.
definitely use YouTube.
We're going to be the next Markiplier.
Fuck, I wish. I'd be down with that if we were like Horror Markiplier. I don't know what the fuck we would stream. I don't know what we would do, but
we'd have to start like a Twitch with horror gaming, and that's just a whole new can of worms.
You know
You
what?
guys got
One
to
of these
give us
days.
that $1 million so I can quit my day job and play horror games. I mean, I fucking love Resident Evil. I'll do it.
that was Natalie's forte back in the
Yeah.
day. Like, she was, in addition to watching a shitload of horror movies as a teen, she also played a shitload of horror games.
Yes.
So if you think that's something you would like, that's a great point. If you think that's something you would like, a Twitch channel where Natalie's fucking gaming and kicking your
God,
ass and
yeah.
talking shit, that is something that you can help with. Leave us those 5-star reviews, financially contribute to the podcast, and be on the lookout for Patreon.
Right.
Those are your mission as Zoids. Those are your missions.
That's your homework. Yep, go on.
So now we will get to our shout-outs before we start delving into the topics of the episode, because
Yes.
every week Natalie posts, I should say, a great video in which we ask what is your favorite blank. And it all relates to the theme of the episode. So we asked, what is your favorite, tying together of music and horror?
Right.
And Natalie gave some great examples for people to pick from, and we got some great responses. First shout out we want to give Bella Lugostly. We've given
Love you.
Bella a shout out on the show before. And of course, Alistair. They're two of our favorite people,
Yes.
entities on, because Alistair's, I don't know what Alistair is, to be honest with you, but I love whatever Alistair is. I
If
love
you don't
their
like
whole deal.
ventriloquist dummies, as we've said before, be wary. But otherwise, please go follow.
Go follow Bella Lugostly. Great content creator. But Bella Lugostly said, Rocky Horror, no other applications will be accepted. And that is a great point. And
Yes.
we planned on talking about Rocky Horror. Like, that was one of the big things we knew we had to
Of
hit
course,
this
yeah.
episode is Rocky Horror. So we'll get into plenty of Rocky Horror today. Mrs. Todd's Shortcut, long screen name here. Mrs. Todd's Shortcut named The Crow and Lost Boys as their favorite example of music and horror. And those are two we definitely will talk about for sure as well. We love the Crow soundtrack. We're addicted to the fucking Lost Boys soundtrack. We sing Cry Little Sister at least once a week. So yeah, we are definitely going to get into that. Frankie Sinestein.
That's a kick-ass.
I
fucking
think
screen
I'm
name.
pronouncing that right.
I think so.
Frankie Sinestein, that's how I'm going to pronounce it, said, that's really tough, but I listen to the Lost Boys most, but Rocky Horror is a close second. I'm noticing a theme here.
I was gonna say.
Rocky Horror, Lost Boys, two of people's faves, and I can't blame them.
Now, the last one of my favorite people on TikTok,
I love
AJ
her.
the Illustrator. First off, kick-ass fucking artwork. If you like horror and you
Yes.
like pink, like me, go follow AJ the Illustrator. But
AJ's
also,
amazing. We love
Yes.
AJ. AJ, if you somehow listen to this, thank you so much. We absolutely love and appreciate your work, and
Yes.
we're glad to be mutuals with you.
Exactly. There's awesome videos that they create. Fantastic artwork, like I said. They really love Scream, so there's been a lot of those lately with the new movie coming up. But near and dear to my heart, as we
Yes.
talked about at the beginning, AJ the Illustrator said, this song is on my 2022 playlist, and they're referring to the audio that I used in the TikTok, which is the Zydrate Anatomy from Repo and the Genetic Opera.
And that's going to be a big topic. We
Yeah.
kind of mentioned it last week in
Yes.
the 2000s horror.
Yes.
But yes, AJ They did mention Zydrate Anatomy, said they fucking love this song, and that the grave robber is their ideal gender expression.
Yes,
which I thought was a very cool statement.
100%. I agree. There's something about the grave robber that's just... mwah,
And the grave
perfect.
robber actually has a way more important role behind the scenes than he does on screen, and we will get to that.
We're going to talk about that more.
I like to tease things that we're going to talk about, even though to ADHD sufferers, we sometimes don't get to those things. But I've been trying to get better about that.
That's why we have notes. It'd probably be a disaster.
It would be a disaster. I remember, I think the first couple episodes we had like handwritten notes, and then we realized as things went on, like we should probably type out some notes. So we try to have a Google Doc open where we keep our notes for the week, and yeah, so you guys, that's a little behind the scenes tidbit that we have quickly evolved into.
More that you can probably see on our upcoming Patreon.
That's right. That's right. We do plan a lot of behind the scenes goodies for everybody. Now, into the meat and potatoes of the episode. The best place we thought to start is at the beginning. And what comes at the beginning, you always get the great theme song, the overture, the musical themes that are going to be carried out through the show because of these fucking songs. Mm-hmm. So some of the most iconic theme songs we got to talk about. First on the list that I wrote down was Halloween.
I mean, like, obviously. And to start with Halloween, it's also like the first song that everyone adds to their Halloween dance party playlist or like their Halloween party playlist. Yes. Like, these are the songs that are constantly on every cassette tape, record, CD, fucking anything that you can get at the Halloween store when we were kids. And it always has these themes. Like, everybody knows them, even if you've never seen the movie.
Right. And Halloween, like I said, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about here. Yeah. These are the songs, like, you hear the Halloween theme song how fucking many times throughout Halloween, throughout the fall. As soon as the leaves start to fall, you start hearing the...
I say, people
I won't do that every time we talk about a song, by the way, but you know what I mean. You hear that fucking, that riff, that piano riff, that synth riff that John Carpenter so expertly fucking created.
Right, exactly. I mean, John Carpenter, king of horror music, in my opinion, because there's so many that are huge, but there's something about the Halloween theme song. I mean, from videos of people like doing silly dances in their Michael costumes, remixes and shit, like everybody knows it. It's in every movie. There's always a version of it somewhere. And it's one of the best.
John Carpenter as a musician is one of the coolest little details about all the Halloween movies, including the newer ones, 2018, Kills and Ends. But he also did the music to In the Mouth of Madness, which is one of our favorites, and we can't wait to talk about that one. Mm-hmm. But if you look back, John Carpenter is probably just as good of a musician as he is a director.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love everything he's ever done.
He's very jack of all trades.
He is. And it's kind of one of those things that harkens back to, the old school mentality of, like, you did everything on the movie.
Right.
It wasn't, he wasn't working with big-time budgets like he was later in his career. He was... He had to do the music because he couldn't pay somebody else to do it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, John Carpenter, I love his music as much as I love his direction. Mm-hmm. Another great theme song, the Nightmare on Elm Street theme song.
Yeah, which I feel like there's two big ones. Like, everyone knows the little girls, outside singing the 1-2, Freddy's Coming for You. But, like, just the main intro, I feel like is, you don't hear it as much as Halloween, but it's one of those really good openers that you get, that classic kind of 80s
yeah
vibe.
I feel bad because I don't have written down who the composer is of that theme song, but I love the Nightmare on Elm Street theme song because, as I've joked before, I feel like Charles Band watched Nightmare on Elm Street and just decided, with all the full moon movies, that was the music he's gonna do.
Yes,
because if you listen to the fucking music in Nightmare on Elm Street, literally like every other Full Moon Studios movie just took that music and it got more watered down as the Full Moon movies went along.
Yes.
They just sound, each one sounds like a more watered down version of the one that came before it, but it all, to me, I feel like he took everything from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, and it's interesting that you say, you kind of get those vibes, right? I feel like it's such a distinguished sound that even whenever we were watching season 4 of Stranger Things, and you have, of course, Robert Englund in it, there's something that they do with the score that there's a lot of little bits in Stranger Things season 4 that I was like, God, that's like Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean,
the synth, 80s synth is just one of those things that I think is just...
It's just like the pitch that they bring up. Because it does have that kind of higher...
Yeah.
And I remember watching it. I was like, God, why does this sound like? And then I remembered that he's going to be in that season. I was like,
Right.
I kind of wonder if that's a little.
Oh, I'm sure it was a little nod
Yeah.
to what they did. You know, the Duffer Brothers have talked about all their inspirations for Stranger Things. And, you know, the music is one of those things that they clearly just took every 80s music soundtrack and score from the horror to the sci-fi movies and just said, this is going to be our whole fucking deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some of our favorite theme songs we got to hit here. The Exorcist. One of my favorites, Tubular Bells by a guy named Mike Oldfield.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great song in addition to just being creepy as fuck because of The Exorcist.
Fun little story for everyone here. And I think that this might be going around the country, but back in October, my sister and I went to this little string quartet. It was actually downtown Indy in the old Scottish Rites Cathedral. They played Tubular Bells. So there was something very interesting about hearing the Exorcist theme inside of a really beautiful Gothic church that I would never be in otherwise.
Right. The most anti-religion movie ever made, in my opinion, being played in a giant Scottish cathedral. Yeah. You're right. There is
very
something weird about that.
It was like candlelight. So if it's in your area and they want to do spooky shit come October, that was a whole fucking amazing thing to experience.
Yeah, if you get to hear any of these live, because the next one we're going to talk about, Psycho.
Yeah.
Of course, the shower scene, everybody knows. The
sharp.
the sharp string violin. Bernard Herrmann did the soundtrack for the score for Psycho. Amazing composer. Also did that whistle song from Kill Bill, and I think American Horror Story used it too. I forget the name off the top of my head. Twisted Nerve. Great song. That was also Bernard Herrmann. But yeah, the Psycho theme song, the shower scene and all that. The great score by Bernard Herrmann. Sometimes they've done it around here in our area in Indianapolis, and if they do it around you, I definitely recommend going and seeing it. But they'll have it where you watch the movie and a symphony or an orchestra will play the music with it. And I'm so bummed. I missed out an opportunity the last time they did it here in Indianapolis. So I didn't get to see it, but that's something, if you ever get a chance to see it, definitely do that. Because the score for Psycho is such an important part of why that is my favorite movie of all time.
It is, and it's beautiful, and I feel like everyone just remembers the sharp but forgets that there's actually music and everything that goes along with that scene.
Beautiful score.
But it is. The whole movie, it's very good at moods and scene transition.
Yes. So, yeah, highly recommend seeing that live if you can. Jaws. How can you forget the Jaws theme song by John Williams?
Every kid did that in the lake, in the pool, like scaring the shit out of each other when they were little. Yeah.
Well, you know, with the kids, anytime I want to fuck with them, I sit there and I do the dun-dun, dun-dun, and then I tickle them. You know, that's one of my favorite little gags with the kids. So I love the Jaws theme song has just been integrated into all of our fucking brains as like the ultimate scary song. I feel
we're all just a big misunderstood shark sometimes.
We are. There's some TV series here that we're gonna hit too that we got to talk about the theme songs. Goosebumps.
I mean,
love that?
It's a banger.
It is.
It's also, you know, as we've talked about, and we will always talk about the things that molded us as children. And I mean, like the little like Goosebumps G shadow like floating around and like it's fucking awesome.
It's so good. Yeah. I hear that and I just get hit with instant nostalgia. Yeah. And I can picture that fucking G floating through the sky.
Yes.
And the dog with the eyes and the lady whose hair like shrivels up or something. I can picture every single detail.
The dog with the glowing eyes on the porch is probably my favorite because it's the part in the song where it's like burp 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 burp.
Right.
And you're
you
like,
have a weird barking noise.
Is it? Oh, the dog is in on the song?
Look, whoever composed that fucking knew what they were doing. They saw that dog, and it's like, I'm going to put them barking noises in there for real, though.
Yes.
The Addams Family is a great, iconic theme song.
Of course.
The snapping, the fingers even got integrated into Wednesday, the series on Netflix with Jenna Ortega. Got integrated in a huge way. Actually became part of the storyline.
Yeah, they're like, here's a secret hallway, snap twice. Like,
bingo.
Okay.
Bingo. The Addams Family is another one. You hear it and it just like you immediately know exactly what it is. It's just one of the most
happy for such a little macabre show.
It is, but that's the thing. The whole thing that Charles Addams was trying to point fun of is the fact that these sick, twisted, psycho deviants are actually a happy, well-adjusted family,
right?
Which is the opposite of reality. You have these safe, happy nuclear families with their, dog and 2.5 kids that are statistically accurate, apparently, and they're miserable.
Right. I think
They're
that's
dark on the inside.
That's what I've always loved about Addams Family.
Right.
I feel like after as much of the TV show and the movies that we've had, that people would understand that like weird people aren't Satan worshippers at this point.
No.
Like half of us just want to like clip roses and quote Morticia.
Half of us just look good in fucking black. Leave us alone.
Literally.
It is a slimming color, and I need that for my self-esteem. So back the fuck up. The Addams Family, the Twilight Zone theme song.
Yeah,
How can
iconic.
you not? How can you not? You like?
Honestly, kind of scared me as a kid.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It really
is terrifying.
It's kind of up there. The next couple that we have, X-Files and Unsolved Mysteries.
I love
also,
both of them.
Now, here's the thing that's funny. A lot of people are like, the Unsolved Mysteries opening always freaked me out. And I understand because you know what's coming. Like scary-ass Robert Stack telling you about a killer that hasn't been caught. But there's something...
He's still at large.
Right. But it's like...
Shut up, Robert Stack.
But the synthy shit is just so good to me. It's just... I don't know. This is a song that I could just like pop on in the car sometimes. Be like, yeah, Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, I think we saw a vinyl for it at like FYE or something.
I think you're
and
right.
I really was tempted to buy it because I want that fucking theme song.
I mean, for the vinyl cover alone, the cool like pink neon shit, like that's
and the scratched logo and everything.
That's
It's perfect. It's peak nostalgia, early '90s shit for me.
And the X-Files opening, you got all the weird creepy clips.
Yes.
The like creepy shadows of the aliens and shit.
The close up of the photographs that are like really kind of
like
grainy
the autopsy
and shit.
looking photos. Yeah. And X-Files is something that our family like religiously watched.
Right.
My sister collected like cards. We were definitely in love with David Duchovny and Gillian
I
Anderson.
still will say Gillian Anderson is my forever crush.
No, both of them, I love them so much.
Yeah.
And the show's fucking terrifying.
It was scary. It was
like,
fucking scary.
I don't know how my mom's like, you're gonna go to church 3 times a week. Now sit down and watch X-Files. Like, I don't understand.
Tight with that. She's cool.
It's so fucking bizarre to me.
You know what it was? It was Mulder.
Probably.
I want to go. I will confront Mama Suze about that. Like, Mama Suze, do you or don't you love David Duchovny?
Yeah.
Guarantee the answer's got to be yes.
It'll probably be yes.
He seems like her type.
Yeah, honestly.
Last 2 movies we want to hit here as far as iconic theme songs. Fucking Saw.
Yeah.
Like the shithole theme.
Right. Exactly.
Hello Zep, I think is what
Hello
it's called.
Zep, yes.
Yeah. It went under a few different names because he remixed it kind of like the Halloween theme song.
It's the climax of every movie.
Every movie. As soon as like
when all the twists
start, flashbacks.
Yeah, I was gonna say the flashbacks and the really choppy cuts, and it's spinning around the one person in the room, and they're like freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god!"
Right.
And then it's like the realization. Usually those they diminished as each movie went on. But you still had the theme song playing.
Yeah, you always had some variation of it by Charlie Clouser.
Yeah.
One of our favorite composers. Originally a member of 9 Inch Nails.
Yes.
And, I mean, it fucking shows.
Right.
He also did the theme song to American Horror Story. So Charlie Clouser, fucking great horror sound aficionado.
Yeah.
Just, he's one of the best. And Ghostbusters. Like, who are you going to call?
Yeah.
You got to throw that out there.
People will argue with me that this isn't appropriate for like Halloween playlists. Like,
it's the most appropriate.
it's
Fuck off.
ghost busting. Like, I get it. It's not a Halloween movie, but it's ghosts.
It's Ghostbusters.
Right.
Ghostbusters perfectly encapsulates what Halloween is supposed to be about. Spooky and fun.
Dressing up in costumes.
Right. Like, I don't give a shit who you are. At Halloween, you want to be spooky and you want to have a good time.
Right, exactly.
That's Ghostbusters.
It is.
I don't see how people don't see the connection.
Right.
Right. Ghostbusters is, like, hands down one of the best horror theme songs ever.
Right.
Ever.
I mean, and the score in general, it's got that fun, kind of happy tone to it, but
it's the 80s, man.
Right,
like,
exactly.
80s movies just had a different vibe.
Yes, they did.
I can't explain it, but it was a different
even
fucking
Ghostbusters
vibe.
Afterlife, and I know why, but like the music,
Right.
the way it carried over, even with a movie that came out now, it still feels like it fits. It doesn't feel like an 80s movie.
It feels like a 90s movie though. Like
Ghostbusters
Ghostbusters
does.
Afterlife felt like a fucking 90s movie for some reason.
Yeah.
And a big part of that was the music. Like every
Right.
time the music would swell for a scene, it's like, holy shit, that's how they That's how they used to do it.
Yeah,
Those were
honestly,
were like all the 90s movies that we grew up watching. Those Chris Columbus 90s movies.
Yep.
That's what the soundtrack reminded me of for Ghostbusters Afterlife. The big things that we really want to get into with this episode, they're horror musicals. And there's not a lot out there, but the ones that are out there are fucking amazing.
They are. We love musicals.
We really do. We really do. And of course, the most iconic horror musical is Rocky Horror.
Right.
And of course, it started out as a Rocky Horror Show on Broadway. Richard O'Brien brought this to life in the London theaters and stages, and then it just became a phenomenon from there. And it got a movie in the 70s. I want to say 1975, 76, somewhere around there. Richard O'Brien made it a movie called the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he had a lot of the Broadway cast. He was in it, obviously. He plays Riff Raff. And then you've got fucking Tim Curry, the iconic Tim Curry, playing Dr. Frankenfurter, who played it in the stage version as well.
Yeah.
Just one of the most brilliant pieces of fiction I've ever seen in my life.
It is. It's wild. I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, okay. And then I watched it again. I was like, I get it.
See, now that was a Halloween tradition in my house.
Watching Rocky
Horror.
Horror.
Yeah, and it's so funny because my grandpa, who was actually super conservative, like when you get down to it.
I was going to say, there's some bizarre shit in that movie.
There is some bizarre shit in that movie. But and my grandpa, being as conservative as he was, would literally say, hey, are we going to watch Transvestite from Transylvania this year? That's what he would say.
He couldn't even remember the name.
Because he wouldn't say Rocky Horror Picture Show. We're going to watch Transvestite from Transylvania? And that's, to this day, one of my favorite fucking songs. That's a bop I will put on in the car, here at home, doesn't matter.
I mean, the music is, it's never-ending, timeless goodness.
So good.
The fact that I continue to see people who are the age that I was when I first saw that movie, see it, and like the Halloween costumes last year were fucking like it was everywhere. I don't know what the fuck was happening.
Oh, people were popping off because they think the pandemic's over, and they're just like, they're ready to get out there and fucking get crazy.
They're like, whatever.
We're cooped up for 2 years. Yeah. We want fucking Halloween.
Yeah.
We want to slut it up.
Yeah,
and I don't blame them.
It was Frankenfurter Madness.
Frankenfurter Madness.
And I'm here
Columbia
for it.
Magenta.
Yeah, honestly.
I started to see some of that, and I think a lot of that contributes, though, to Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Because remember, she dresses up as, I forget if it's Columbia or Magenta off the top of my head, but she dresses up as one of them for her Halloween party. And I know, so she's been doing like cons in that outfit.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of got a resurgence there.
Yeah. I always love that part about Halloween too. Whenever they're getting dressed up, I'm like, I see it. All right.
Yes. I honestly sit here, and Rocky Horror Picture Show is just one of my favorite movies of all time. If we were to redo our first episode all over again of our top 5 horror movies, I would probably put Rocky Horror Picture Show in there now. I don't know what I bumped, but I would definitely put Rocky Horror in there.
We can always extend to a top 10. You know.
It's a brilliant movie because it is literally designed from the beginning to make you feel uncomfortable. And because if you notice in the background, Tim Curry and the actors who play Columbia and Magenta are there at the wedding where Brad proposes to Janet. They're there.
Right.
And you just feel disoriented because you're like, no.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
So it's just the whole fucking movie from start to finish is a disorienting ride of fucking madness. And the music is like your fucking sled. It's your magic carpet. The music is your fucking magic carpet on this ride through this fucked up piece of fiction.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
It is. It's very, and of course it's one of those where it's like, what was your first Tim Curry movie? And if they say this, you're like, we're friends.
Oh, and what's your favorite Tim Curry movie? Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing,
there's
though.
good answers and bad answers.
I was going to say, the favorite for sure. But I just like asking people, like, what was your first Tim Curry movie? Because for me, probably it was Ferngully.
For me, it was either Ferngully or Home Alone 2. I'm telling you, like, it was one of those.
Yeah.
Now, my first experience with Tim Curry will probably be passing that fucking box of It.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking passing that every fucking time in the video store and seeing him in the makeup. I probably saw that before I saw any movie.
See, and I was very young when I saw him in it on
Well,
TV.
I didn't see the movie. I'm talking about just the box.
Oh, for
Just
sure.
the fucking
I mean, we've
box.
talked about that before, like the box, just the freaky monster hand.
And it was a mini-series, so it was a big, thick fucking VHS with 2 tapes.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you just had, so it would burst out off the shelf at you, and Tim Curry's just like, we all float down here.
Right.
You know, it's fucked up. I love Tim Curry, though. I love Rocky Horror Picture Show. It is absolute perfection.
It is.
Another horror musical. We talked about this on our Christmas episode,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a great musical. Anna and the Apocalypse.
This one will cry, and like even
it's so sad.
you re-listen to some of the songs like after the movie. Like there's been a few times I've come home and Stevie's had it playing, and yeah,
I just
it's
had it
like,
on the other day.
It's some really fucking good music. It's
good
cool.
music.
It's a zombie apocalypse music.
Yeah.
This is one that I would absolutely love to see like Broadway performance level.
Oh, I'm sure that it's got to be in the works. Somebody somewhere has got to be getting this motherfucker ready.
Yeah.
But Anna and the Apocalypse it's terrific because it's Gen Z, because this came out in like 2017. So it's like Gen Z kids in high school, and the songs reflect that. The story, being a zombie apocalypse, still reflects that.
Yeah.
And you still have, again, what I say about a lot of these movies is you got to have a good human villain to go along with your
Agreed.
monsters. And it has a great human villain with the principal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that too, because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, you were saying that, I'm like, zombie movie, human villain. Thinking of all these movies in my head, and
Yeah.
I'm like, is there a movie where it's really just the zombies? But no, it's always somebody.
There's always somebody.
Yeah.
There's always
whether it's the
somebody.
military being dicks and like 28 Days Later,
Right.
The guy in Train to Busan who's like trying to break the group up and like leave these few people to the zombies.
Yeah.
You're right. It is. It's
Dawn
always
of the
something.
Dead. You get the fucking shitty security guards in the
Right.
Dawn of the Dead remake. You know, it's like you always have
And villain
good-
after villain in The Walking Dead.
Yes, yeah, you have great human.
Yeah.
Negan's a great example of
Yeah.
a great human villain. I'm telling you, you want to make a good zombie movie, you got to give a human villain to go along with him.
And this one, you get a principal of a
Principal.
school.
Oh my god.
So like everyone
He's such
always
a giant dick though
right.
too.
Oh, he's like, I thought my principal was bad. Nope.
No, fucking this guy makes all principals look fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's terrible. But it is a tearjerker too.
Yeah, it's-
There's some fucking hard shit to watch.
Yeah.
We talked about it again in the Christmas episode. Definitely go back and listen to that if you want to hear us go more in depth. Repo the Genetic Opera, man. I love this fucking movie.
Stevie hadn't even seen this till a couple months ago.
Yeah,
At this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
It's a bizarre movie.
So weird.
Amazing cast, amazing music. It's dark, it's gritty. The vibes are there. The wardrobe alone, but the music is catchy as fuck.
Yes, and we don't know how to pronounce his last name, but the composer of the film, who did all of the music, plays the grave robber, as we mentioned earlier. Tease that. Terrence Zdunich.
Yeah, I'm
This
not
is
sure.
the best.
I can't try to say it. I'd
We'll
probably
probably
ruin it
just
either
henceforth
way.
refer to him as the grave robber.
Yeah.
But he's an amazing musician, because all
Mm-hmm.
the music in here it has like this. It is called Repo the Genetic Opera, and it feels like an opera the way the music is done, but it's also got a very hard rock feel to it.
Yeah.
It's like a hard rock opera.
There's something a little Rocky Horror with some of the
Oh,
performances.
so much. I agree.
Because they are very theatrical and over the top. Whereas like some of the other musicals, like Anna and the Apocalypse and others that we're going to talk about, it's just kind of like breaking out into song. It doesn't feel as performative. Whereas with Rocky Horror and Repo, it feels like everything stops around them and all the people that are in the alley come up to join, and it's very Broadway.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It does. It feels they translate well from stage to screen.
Yes, they do.
Which I don't know. I don't think Repo actually was like
I don't
an
think
actual
so, no.
Broadway show or anything like that. But again, it does feel like an adaptation of some weird futuristic sci-fi Broadway show.
Right, exactly.
It's incredibly well done. Musician Sarah Brightman, who I believe does Broadway in theater, plays Mag in the movie, and she, like, without her, the only other real musician on the fucking cast would have been Paris Hilton. So, thankfully Sarah Brightman really brings it. She's one of my favorite parts in the whole movie. I think she plays I think she plays Mag so fucking well. I
Yeah.
love that part. I think her role is so underrated.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Because I
Her
mean,
and Paris though. Like I give Paris Hilton shit, but she does a great
I was
job
gonna
as Amber.
say, yeah, Paris is actually something like I remember I hated her like forever ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm just kind of like Paris, you're kind of cool.
She yeah, right. She ultimately in the end, she never really did like other. I mean, she drunk driving and shit like
Yeah,
that.
she
but
did some pretty
She
bad
did some.
shit.
She did some pretty bad shit. But at the same time, it's like in the end, like she seems like one of those celebrities who learned their lesson. She's doing all right. Just had a kid or something. So yeah. And looking back, you're like, yeah, this was like campy and fucking shitty and fun. But that's what horror is.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
And when you look at like her horror performances, House of Wax, and then she did this other movie, I think it's called like 9 Lives. It was a really shitty, low budget indie horror movie.
Yeah.
But all of her shit was always campy and fun.
Right.
It was never intended to be this great thespian performance.
Right. I was gonna say we kind of mentioned her with House of Wax,
Yeah.
which, I mean, yeah, it's Paris Hilton.
It's Paris Hilton. You know what you're getting.
Right.
And at the end of it, like again, like looking back, she never tried to act outside of her like abilities. She knew what she was good at.
You know, honestly, I feel like
I
if she
respect
had
that.
done more movies, I feel like people will look at her the same way they look at Sherry Moon Zombie. Like,
Oh,
you're
for
not
sure, for sure.
particularly good, but you're a really cute, skinny blonde that can, like, be in a movie.
I would love it if Rob Zombie somehow got Paris Hilton to be in one of his
Dude,
fucking movies.
Paris Hilton and Sherry Moon Zombie together would be fucking amazing.
I want to see a badass fucking grindhouse, slaughterhousey fucking bloody action movie where they just play two badass bitches with guns.
Yes.
That's what we need to see. We need to see Rob Zombie make that fucking happen. He's the only director who can make that happen.
I'm 100% on board for that.
One movie we have been really excited to talk about. We keep trying to find a reason to bring it up. Finally, we do. Hellbender.
Yes. We kind of threw this back and forth a little bit because it did come out last year. We kind of thought about it for our Horror Zoid Awards at the end of the year. But this movie is a family film, literally made by the Addams family,
Shout out
not
to
the
the Addams
spooky
family.
ones, but also kind of spooky. But they have this cool little rock duo, like bass guitar, drum set, mother and daughter in the movie.
Yeah.
And
And played by real life mother
Yes.
Toby Poser and daughter Zelda Adams.
Yes.
And that's hence why they're the Adams family.
Right.
The
Yes.
father, John Adams, directed the movie along with Zelda and Toby are both credited as directing as well because the family filmed this during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And Lulu Adams, the second sister who is in the movie as well, doesn't really have a lot behind the scenes, but delivers a great acting performance.
Yeah, it's so literally family film. It's
Literally.
very remote, which works since of the time it was filmed. It was
Right.
basically in the mountains, and the neighbor is like a mile away, 2 miles away, walk through the woods, basically.
Yeah.
But you get this awesome fucking music. I don't know how to describe it. It's a little grungy. It's a little macabre. It's
It honestly, it's got a little bit of the feel like the best I can compare it to is like back when they had the new wave of British heavy metal in like the 70s and 80s and the way Black Sabbath sounded because Tony Iommi always said the reason his guitar sounded like that is because the way he played and he had like a deformity on his finger and stuff and it just gave it this really heavy sound. And that's what I think Hellbender sounds like. Hellbender is very early British heavy metal kind of sound. And I
Yeah.
think when you listen to it and you watch the movie and you can go on Spotify and Apple Music and whatever and listen to the soundtrack, you'll see what I mean.
Yes, and this is one thing. If you've seen the movie and you're just like, I want to listen to the music and I can't find it, you're not alone. It took me a second. Hellbender, but all the E's are 6s, so you get 3 6s in Hellbender. They're on Apple and Spotify and YouTube to listen to. I have just a playlist of the music so I can listen to it. But it's a really cool, it's a witch movie. It's a very interesting coming of age movie. It's really dark and weird and cool and moody. And this movie is probably my most underrated. I would put this, I want everybody to fucking see this. I know I said last week, like Trick or Treat is the movie I would never gatekeep. Hellbender is going to be the movie that I'm going to be like, hey, you should watch Hellbender.
Right. This is the one that you make people sit down and watch.
Yeah.
It just feels like an important movie.
It does.
And we don't say that just because we've interacted with the Addams family. They're
No.
great people. They follow us on Instagram. We follow them. So we do feel a sense of closeness to them now since
Yeah.
we've kind of been shooting the shit with them and everything. But yeah, it's great. It's a terrific movie. It really is, like, by every stretch of the imagination and every sense of the word, it is just one of the most beautiful, breathtaking horror movies I've ever seen.
It is. The way
The
it's
music,
filmed,
the visuals,
yes.
everything, all of the above. They do everything perfectly.
It is, and it took us a while to watch it. I kept going, we need to watch this movie. I've seen a few people say how great this movie is.
Yeah.
And then we finally got to it a little towards the end of last year, and I was like, fuck, I should have watched this sooner.
Well, I realize, like, I'm at least on my side, I'm one of those people where I like to wait for the initial buzz to fade away. Like, I don't like to watch shit when, like, people are buzzing about it because I feel like that influences me. I'll be the first to say, like, I'm easily swayed
it's the
in
same,
that direction.
It's the same kind of thing that we've talked about with trailer influence.
Yeah.
Why we avoid movie trailers. Like, we're at the theater and I just look down and I'm like, I can hear it, but I'm not seeing anything, so I don't know.
Which we don't have to worry about that anymore because they're raising the prices, so we probably won't go back to a movie theater.
I mean, we barely
anytime
go to
soon.
AMC anyway. We like Regal, even though they're like filed
They're
for
fucking
bankruptcy
closing.
and closing a bunch of them.
AMC's raising their prices. Regal's fucking closing. If you're listening to this,
Yeah.
we're recording this in February of 2023, and shit's looking grim for the theater industry.
Yeah, I'm
so
a little
write us
worried.
and let us know if it gets better.
It's my favorite. I mean, we have a theater that's fairly close to us.
Yeah.
That it has been around since the 20s, and they show a lot of classic movies. They do show some newer ones. But like the seats are also from 1920, so they don't believe in like anything over a size 10 woman. But it's like, I feel like those are the theaters we're gonna have to end up like just going to those little ones because we live in fucking Indiana. Like a lot of states aren't gonna have to worry about it, but I do. I worry about the way the theaters are looking right
That's
now.
true. I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were talking about Hellbender, though.
Oh yeah, sorry, we get off our. we really like the theater. I've said before, it made me like sad that we couldn't go through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Not that I would even if I could, but it was just the biggest thing that I missed. But Hellbender, yeah, it's one of those. First off, if I could see it on the big screen, that'd be fucking.
That would be
amazing.
that is a movie that does need to be experienced. If it ever goes to theaters,
Yeah.
Like a bigger, wider release.
Yeah.
That is one I will be first in line to
I was
see.
gonna say it's gonna be a 15-year later, like how long I had to wait for Trick or Treat.
Hey, but we finally got there.
We did, and I'll be around for it. But it's one of those that we saw a few people talk about. We finally got to, and it starts like with a song, like it kicks right into the music. And I love the makeup that they put on. Like they do this whole thing, like they are their own little metal band.
Yeah.
In the middle of the woods.
And it's just the daughter Zelda playing drums and the mom Toby playing bass.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's it in the movie. You know,
Right.
I imagine they probably like.
Yeah, I'm sure there's.
I imagine there's
a little
more going
on the back end.
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, but but it's just presented as just those two, and it's fucking kick ass. Like Natalie said,
It
they
is.
put on like war paint and makeup and shit, and it's again the movie has a very feminine, empowering message in
Yes,
my
it
opinion.
does.
So you get the vibe from them, and with the way they present themselves, they're like these badass fucking warrior women.
Yeah.
Like she even describes Hellbender. You know, somebody asks her, "What's a Hellbender?" and she says, "Part witch, part demon, part apex predator," and that
Yeah.
might be my favorite line in the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because it really describes exactly what they are to a T.
I agree. It's also a movie. I feel like it's good for horror beginners who they might
that's
want
a
a
good
little
one.
bit of a slow burn, nothing too in your face. Because while there are some
They
scenes
have some
that,
intense scenes. They have a little bit of
Right.
intensity to it, but not
but
too
even
much. I
then,
agree.
Like it's very artsy too.
It's not fried berry.
Right, no. Oh, fucking Jesus. We haven't talked about that one. That's definitely, it's nowhere near Fried Berry.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's like if you've seen fried berry, it's quite tame.
Yeah,
quite
quite
tame
tame.
compared to that.
It is. It's very tame. I mean, it's pretty. The music's cool. Like, I don't know how much more I can gush about it, but like we watched it. We kind of mentioned it and posted something about it, and like I would have never in a million years, and I don't think this anytime it's rarely ever happened before, where someone who's worked on a movie or an actor, either they like it or let alone fucking comment like they did.
Yeah.
And then like follow us.
Right. It
And
meant a lot. Yeah. It was like because
Yeah.
we really respect what they were able to
Yeah.
create. All four of them. They do a tremendous job. they're all four great performers, creators, and we can't wait for their next project. We know we've seen them filming some stuff, so we're super excited to see. It's the Addams Family with one D,
Right?
one D, not two, like the other Addams Family.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely check out Hellbender. It's another reason why we keep telling you get Shudder.
Yes,
It's on Shudder. Go
Yes.
fucking watch it.
Absolutely.
Other couple musicals we want to hit here. Really fun ones. Little Shop of Horrors from the 80s.
Of course.
Like, how can you not love, Suddenly Seymour?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just such a fun fucking movie.
Feed me.
Feed me.
Yeah, the music, that's one that I definitely remember we would rent from the video store as a kid.
Yeah.
Or it'd be on like the Sunday movie matinee on Fox TV. And I loved the music. But I also really loved the fucking puppetry in that movie.
Oh my God, of course.
Yeah, because I mean, if you did that movie nowadays, I think it would just be a big CG thing, depending who picked it up, obviously. But just seeing this big fucking monster plant is just so cool. And
So
I mean,
good.
she's iconic.
I love Audrey.
Yeah,
Who doesn't
Audrey's
love Audrey?
beautiful.
And Rick Moranis.
Audrey too.
And
yeah.
wasn't Steve Martin in it? Yeah, Steve Martin was in
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Fuck. What,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here trying to I remember Steve Martin. Like, how can you not love that movie?
Right. It's great.
Some of the most lovable actors, great music, great
Addicting
songs.
music.
And it's again another pure '80s nostalgia movie.
Yes, it
I put
is.
it up there with Gremlins as when I put it on there. Like that would be a double feature for me: Gremlins and fucking Little Shop of Horrors.
That is like the two things that aren't similar at all, but somehow feel the same.
You
I
know what I mean?
I do. You said
They
it, and
vibe
it clicked.
the same.
Yeah.
They vibe the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
I will stand by that. And the last one we want to mention as far as musicals go, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Of course.
Like, it shaped so many of us.
Yeah. It's everyone is this is Halloween in October.
Dude,
or
it doesn't
like
even
the
matter
3
if it's
months before.
October. Yeah.
Well, no, but it's like Halloween. Like when you start seeing it on social media, you're like, oh,
True.
the horror and Halloween people are
True.
getting restless.
Plus, nobody has more tattoos out there than fucking Jack
Than Jack
Skellington at
Skellington.
this point.
Yeah.
I have a theory that probably 75% of people that identify as female have a Jack Skellington tattoo.
Yeah, I almost got one once
I
years ago.
fucking know you did.
But ironically, I ended up helping in a tattoo design for my oldest sister who has like a partial sleeve.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that it's almost gotten like, it's so big that I'm like, I had to back off of it for a minute there. I was just like, holy fuck, it went crazy.
It did.
Because it used to be you'd only see stuff for it around Halloween, and now it's anywhere, everywhere, all the time.
Now every girl at the mall has a pair of Jack Skellington pajama pants on.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But
Or
I mean-
Walmart. Or Walmart.
or Walmart,
That might
yeah.
be more of a Walmart
I was going to
thing.
say Walmart always has cool Nightmare
Always.
Before Christmas stuff around Halloween. But
does.
yeah, it's something I remember, I'd have stuff for it back when I was a teenager, and I treasured it so much because I loved that movie. My mom hated it at first. She was like, it's too scary for Christmas. But then let me watch
the Sandy Claus.
right. There's probably some lines in that movie I didn't quite pick up on whenever I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
As most movies, but yeah, it's something that it's so big now. It's cool to see. Again, just a reminder, it's not a fucking Tim Burton movie. Fuck him. But Danny Elfman does the music.
Danny
of course.
Elfman does the music. Henry Selick directed it, but
And-
Danny Elfman does the music, and we talked about Danny Elfman
Yeah.
with some of our Sleepy Hollow and stuff.
Right.
Danny Elfman is a fucking icon
Yeah.
of music.
I know Danny Elfman music when I hear it. It's like a movie's playing. I'm like,
Right.
is there Danny Elfman? What movie is this?
I get it. No,
Yeah.
I get what you mean when you say that. Like, he is one of those composers, and I would say John Williams is in that category
Yeah.
as well. Maybe
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer, but Danny Elfman is one of those composers. When you hear his music, you know it's him. You're
Yeah.
absolutely fucking right. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, for me, the Batman, his Batman theme song
is
the one I hear in my head whenever I think of Batman.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I
I totally get that.
Danny Elfman, and then of course, Nightmare Before Christmas. Chris Sarandon did the speaking voice for Jack Skellington, but Danny Elfman did the singing.
Did sing for Jack,
So-
which is what most people remember.
Exactly,
honestly.
they remember. We love Chris Sarandon on the show. We
Of
stan,
course.
we
Yeah.
stan Randon. Him.
Stan Randon.
But Danny Elfman, that movie, nobody remembers Chris Sarandon. They remember
Yeah.
Danny Elfman singing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we had to include that if we're talking horror and music.
It did. He helps the baby horrors.
Right. Well, and when you think about it too, they did the Nightmare Revisited soundtrack. I think it was like a 10 years later thing or 15 years later.
Had like
thing.
the Used and all that shit. Of course, everyone knows the unfortunate Manson cover.
The
now.
Manson cover.
But
the Korn was on it.
I think Evanescence maybe
Evanescence,
did Sally's
yes,
song.
I remember
or
that.
Amy Lee did Sally's
the
song.
recently disbanded Panic at the Disco, I believe, had a song on it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I owned that for sure.
That was a great fucking, and so like that's really good tie into music and horror.
Yeah.
Like I think those that's a great representation of what that can be.
Yeah.
And speaking of scores, we talk about Danny Elfman as a composer. We want to talk about some other composers and some other scores that just have really stood out to us.
Yeah.
And Natalie brought up a good question, or a good kind of common ground between all of these scores. And she mentioned that it's something that it ties everything together. Mm-hmm. We kept using the term, it completes the movie. Yeah,
because we're talking about with Danny Elfman, like obviously there's all the songs that they sing, but we're talking about, I know this, it's a Danny Elfman music just by being in the other fucking room and not know what even movie's on. He does have, score composers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these they fall in that same category where I would not enjoy the movie if it was any other music. There's something about how, and some of these I feel like we kind of talked about this a little bit before, that there are a lot of the soundtracks too have in common that I would listen to a lot of these just outside of watching the movie.
Yes.
They're on playlists and, like horror playlists or spooky, moody playlists and things like that.
Just a kind of chill lo-fi playlist too, because that's another thing a lot of these have in common is like when they're going through those calm moments in the movie, mm-hmm. they have these beautiful scores of these underscores and these undertones of music that are carrying these scenes during some of their less intense moments. Mm-hmm. And that creates a vibe where you can just listen to them casually, like in your free time. Like these can be songs that you can just put on and chill and relax, and you've got these beautiful strings and woodwind instruments just coming together in perfect harmony, these brass instruments, whatever you are into, it's there, they're coming together in a perfect harmony, and it just creates for a great listening experience.
Right. And mm-hmm. I think I'm glad that we talked about Danny Elfman, because obviously he's been doing this for so long, and some of these are, a little newer, whether they're newer to us or just newer to composing for horror movies. But one of them that I really love the music, and it's more than just this movie, but Benjamin Wallfish, he's done quite a few different movies. I just remembered. I think he does Cure for Wellness as well.
Yeah, he does Cure for Wellness.
The music from 2017's It remake, Chapter 1, if you want to call it that.
Well, the music in the sequel, too, is still Benjamin Wallfish. Exactly. I thought it was also well done.
Yeah. Very. Has some very beautiful music. Obviously, Beverly's song is one of my favorites on there.
Oh yeah.
But it's just music. I don't know what it is about the way it opens. That's a comfort movie for me, but that piano and softness of the music whenever it goes right into, mm-hmm. Them making the boat in that beginning scene. It just sets the whole mood of that whole movie.
Well, and you talk about the softness of the score that Benjamin Wallfish brings to the table, and I think it's so great that when you said that, it instantly clicked. It's a soft soundtrack and score for a movie that goes fucking hard.
Right.
And, there's moments where, of course, it picks up, like the little boy coming down the stairs, dropping the eggs and shit. It has that, that sharp crescendo. But at the same time, it even when it gets sharp and stringy, it's still, there's a softness to it. That's a great way to describe it.
It's not
very
uncomfortable
smooth
to listen to.
No, not
I would
at all.
say I love the music from Psycho, but I don't just listen to that song with the sharp strings and just be like, relaxing.
Well, even the opening to Trick or Treat, that's one with that sharp strings, like the brink, brink, brink. Well, it's a lot. It's it's not one you would probably listen to casually too much.
No, I agree. But there's something with the way Benjamin does music that you know, even though it's for a horror movie and it sounds really pretty, there's always something so like gloomy and sad sounding about his music.
Yeah, it's melancholy.
Yeah. That's the perfect word for it.
Right. I agree. One I fucking love and I will jam to, like fucking jam to, is the It Follows soundtrack.
Absolutely.
And the artist is Disaster Piece. And I know that because I always look up Disaster Piece so I can listen to that fucking soundtrack.
Yeah.
I keep going back to that.
It's one of the movies that we've talked about in the past where the music really is the cherry on top.
Oh, it so is. And there might be another Do a Shot. We've mentioned this movie moment because we
right.
talk about It Follows a lot.
Well, it's one of our like favorites
Absolute
ever.
favorites.
But yeah, I mean, you get this cool synthy vibe. There's another great building of tension. There's a couple of tracks in this movie that just make me feel like I'm buzzing, like I'm on edge.
Right. It's you've used the word before, Frisian. You know, and it's like, I don't know if this is quite Frisian, but at the same time, it's like it tickles the brain. It tingles those neurons.
It's close.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a brain tingly kind of soundtrack.
Yeah.
Kind of like we just listened to it the other day, Tron Legacy, Daft Punk.
Absolutely.
I would say Disaster Piece's It Follows soundtrack, score, whatever you want to call it, is on par with Daft Punk's Tron Legacy.
I'm with you.
And Tron Legacy, I think that's I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying when I compare those two, and I stand by that. Like It Follows, just the theme song alone, you know, when they're walking to the pool.
Oh yeah.
With the big fucking like
it swells.
It swells and it climaxes. And I don't use that word a lot, but it does, and it has this big fucking just It builds so beautifully.
Yeah.
And then you talk about the scene with the old lady when she's approaching Jay in the hallway. And
the pacings pick up. And even though and it's something that even I just said that and it just clicked in my brain. If you guys have ever seen this movie, or I think I even posted part of this where the old woman is walking through the hallway and it goes so slow and then the music is so fast, but there's nothing fast about it. And maybe that, you know, that's kind of part of it. It's why we love and wanted to talk about music and horror.
Yeah.
Is because you have something like this where you have the ability to make something feel so urgent and uncomfortable when it's just an old woman walking at you.
Yeah,
and
if you take the music away, and we talked about this before we went on the air, if you take the music away from a lot of these movies and these scenes, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And honestly, that scene, if you take away the fucking music, it's just an old woman walking towards a girl.
Yeah, you're like, what is she waiting
for? Not a big fucking deal.
Right.
But the music makes it, I feel the same way about the scene when she walks into the kitchen and there's that woman there who pisses herself.
Yeah.
And that fucking sharp. I mean, that's it is what it is, guys. Like, you're listening to a podcast about horror movies. Like, we're going to talk about this shit.
I think that scene's odd because it's like, it's just standing there for a minute. It's like thinking, like, what the fuck do I do now? And then it finally starts to move. But no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
There's these really uncomfortable builds in the music it plays well. And I'm always fascinated by the things that they do with soundtracks where. And I saw something about it the other day when I was looking at this and I forget the name, but there's basically something that I think that they used it in Insidious. Our ears can't pick it up quite, but they put it in there and
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's like subconsciously makes you more nervous and uncomfortable. And I find that interesting because the fucking Insidious soundtrack alone, which we were going to get to, is uncomfortable in itself. I'm like, I don't need weird shit that I can barely hear to make me more uncomfortable with that movie.
Right. No, that's another example too that we will get to. Resident Evil, we mentioned it last week with the 2000s. Great score, also great soundtrack that we're going to talk about here later too. But Marilyn Manson, unfortunately, did the score, is credited for doing the score to the original Resident Evil soundtrack, which is just it is amazing. Unfortunately,
it's heavy, it's upbeat, it's actiony feeling.
Like I said, cool. My conspiracy theory is that Marilyn Manson actually had nothing to do with it. He just paid somebody. He's credited, but I'm telling you, I don't know why I feel like that, other than he's just a shitty dude. But I'm telling you, I think somebody else had a hand in that. But it is like, for whether, you know, whatever you want to do, if you want to, you know, listen to it or not listen to it. Unfortunately, it's a good score.
Yeah, either way, you're going to hear it when you're watching the movie.
You're going to hear it, and it does. It has like that weird, like, like Natalie said, sounded like I was saying cookie when I was doing it. So I won't do it again. But there's that sound effect that's like always in the back, and it's like it sounds like two metal objects like clinging into each other. You know what I mean? It's just a really good,
it's industrial sounding,
very good industrial soundtrack. Yeah, so I love that one. The Shining, and one thing, like, first off, I fucking love The Shining because the music does make you fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but it was composed. One of the composers on the movie was a woman by the name of Wendy Carlos, who's the first trans woman to actually be credited as contributing to the score of a film as a composer.
That's awesome. I had no idea about that.
I love that story. I love the story of Wendy Carlos. Stanley Kubrick was a fucking asshole. Let's call a spade a spade. The way he treated Shelley Duvall was atrocious and should not be allowed, no matter what you're trying to accomplish and create, no matter how good the product is at the end, because we love The Shining. I called it my second favorite movie of all time. Stand by that. But one great aspect of this movie, despite all the shittiness, is Wendy Carlos.
Music. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Wendy Carlos created a soundtrack, and there was another woman who actually worked with her on the soundtrack as well. Her name I didn't have in my notes, but these two created a score and a soundtrack that was so disorienting.
Very.
Like, even from the
kind of the weird, almost echoey hillside vocals. That's the only way I can say it. Is it sounds.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It just sounds like the shit that people are like, well, I heard a woman crying from the cliffs, and like, I don't think we should go up there. Like, that's the kind of vibe those vocals in the music actually puts out, because it is. You've got the really kind of amazing strings and everything in there, but that vocal, the eeriness that it lays on top of that is so fucking freaky.
Yes. This is a beautiful score. It's as beautiful as it is discomforting, and that's the only way I can describe it. Like, the music adds so much to the uncomfortable atmosphere of the Shining. Like, it like the movie feels wrong, and I think a big part of that is the music.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Another shout out here on scores: Silence of the Lambs by Howard Shore. And I was trying to think before the show, like, Howard Shore, I have that in my notes, and that name looks familiar. Where have I seen that name before? And he also did the iconic score for Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
so
okay.
So like, and it's so funny because I love both of them. I love the music in Silence of the Lambs. I love the music in Lord of the Rings.
Right, like Lord of the Rings is like, I put that on to like Maladaptive Daydream.
Bingo. It is just one of those. It's one of those scores and those set of music that he created for Lord of the Rings. It's there's something so peaceful about it. The Shire music alone, like, is just one of the most beautiful pieces of arrangements that I've ever seen. See,
I'm glad that you're really good with names, because I was like, I'm looking at the notes, I'm like, okay.
Well,
it doesn't click in my head. I'm really bad with names.
No, it's but I do. I love Howard Shore, and we talked about it. We got to see Silence of the Lambs in theaters back in 20. Was it 20?
I think it was 2021, maybe.
2021, end of 2021. We saw Silence of the Lambs. Turner Classic Movies did a showing at one of our local theaters, and it was like one of the best parts was hearing Howard Shore's score coming through those
just
speakers
surrounding you.
Oh my God, it was unreal.
Yeah.
And the way everything builds, like, it's so well done. Like, the scenes, like, one of my favorite scenes is the actress, I forget if it's Casey or Cassie Lemons. I think it's Casey Lemons. She's on the phone and she drops it. She's booking it through the hallway. Yeah. And you hear Howard Shore just like this big build, like this fucking brass instrumental just fucking, again, crescendoing into this beautiful sound. And she's just booking it down the hallway to tell Clarice that Lecter escaped. Yeah. It's just one of my favorite fucking cinematic moments.
I agree. It does. It's why we love the music.
Yes. Yeah. And the music helps make it so much more impactful.
Right. And obviously not every movie, has the best score, or it just doesn't quite fit. And there's something about all of those that, we said it again. If you take it away, it's not the same movie. And I always think it's kind of fun to think, what would a scene be like with a different kind of sound? Like, what if Danny Elfman did it?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great thing to think about. Like, what if some of these composers did other movies, like almost like a dream, like a fan fiction kind of, like if you could pick a composer. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's going to be our next, like, what's your favorite mashup? Like, what would you do?
I'm telling you, there's some great possibilities out there. Two guys we got to give some love to. We kind of mentioned them earlier a little bit. Stranger Things score, which is done by Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein.
Yes. Awesome. Like, obviously the soundtrack, the songs that they picked give great 80s vibes.
Right.
But the score, everybody, I mean, that opening alone.
The opening. Like, I was going to include this in badass theme songs, but their whole score deserves credit. It's not just the theme song.
Because it's funny, I don't know what fucking thing I typed into Pandora for one of my playlists, and I'll listen to it at work because instrumental helps me through the day. And, like, sometimes Stranger Things music will come on, and I'll be like, oh, this is, like, the sad one where they're, like, mourning Will, but he's not actually dead. He's in the upside down.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it's so fucking sad sounding. But then there's just, again, I know we keep saying the synthy goodness, but it is. We absolutely love.
That's what we appreciate.
Synthwave, retrowave,
That's
all
what
of
we
that.
appreciates about them.
Yes. Is that what you appreciates about me?
Let's take about 20-25% off there.
But yeah, I mean, Stranger Things, the music, the opening is iconic. It's always so exciting to turn on a new season, which I mean is going to be coming to an end eventually, and hearing that booming, bassy.
I never skip intro on fucking Stranger Things episodes.
That's one. If you fucking reach for the remote. Listen, if you reach for the remote during Stranger Things to skip that fucking opening, we aren't friends.
Yeah.
You don't skip that opening.
You get out.
You get out.
You get out.
Now, another one for me, for TV, that I also never skip the opening, is the greatness of Haunting on Hill House and Bly Manor. The Newton brothers did music. They also worked with him for Dr. Sleep.
Right. Yeah, they've worked with Mike Flanagan a few times.
Yes.
And every time, it's a great, great fucking combination.
It is.
The opening of Hill House, like you said, is one we don't skip either.
No, it's dark and sad, and I just want to, like, cry to it sometimes. I mean, honestly, I've watched Hill House 7+ times.
Yeah.
I will put it on in the background. Sometimes I have to stop because I will cry multiple times every time I watch it. But the music that they do, there's a track that I love. I think it's called The Beginning of the End. That if I've got headphones on and it plays, it gives me frisson, like head to toe goosebumps. I will fucking cry.
Yeah.
They are so good at making music that it can make me feel the same way over and over again without ever feeling like it's diminished.
Oh, I agree. I think the one that stands out to me is the Screamin' Mimi's episode. The music in that really helped tell the story with what Liv was going through as she was, hallucinating this flapper girl, character. So it was like I thought that was another one of my favorites, where just like the music felt like it was helping to guide you.
Yeah.
As they walked through the house, it felt like the music was just kind of, again, like I said earlier, it's like if you're on a magic carpet ride, it's like this is your magic carpet.
Yeah.
This is what's getting you through there.
Yes, absolutely.
Last one we want to talk about here. It's a unique sound, one of the most unique scores and soundtracks we've ever heard. Only Lovers Left Alive.
Yes.
And we've talked about this one before. I think we talked about it with vampires. We fucking love this movie. It's one of the most romantic movies ever made.
Ironically, I only found out about the movie after watching the first season of What We Do in the Shadows, because Tilda Swinton, as the head of the Vampire Council, once it all clicked into place that all of the other people on the council were vampires in other movies.
Right.
You've got Wesley, you've got Danny
from
Trejo.
Dusk Till Dawn, and Rachel Wood from True Blood,
and they
Paul
mention,
Rubens from Buffy.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great fucking call.
They mention people that don't show up. They're like, Tom Cruise, and she's like, Pfft.
It's like Kiefer? Kiefer's not here?
Right. And
it's one of the best episodes.
Yes, absolutely. And once that clicked, I was like, but who are some of these other people?
Right.
And
Tilda Swinton was the one that really did. I agree. That was the one that was like, it was a head scratcher.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't remember her being, like, she was a fucking ice queen, but, like, I don't remember fucking
ice
vampires.
Queen, you fucking just went Narnia.
Yeah.
Straight dropping a fucking Narnia reference on our podcast,
my homie
y'all.
Tumnus.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, so I looked it up, and then amazingly, the fucking majestically beautiful Tom Hiddleston is also a vampire
I
in this
almost said
movie.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, wrong.
No, they were in the Marvel movies together.
Yeah.
They weren't in the vampire
A
movies.
little
sorry.
different. Loki vampire though.
Oh yeah, Loki is a vampire.
I'm
But
gonna
yeah,
go
this
with
one
that.
also has Anton Yelchin in it.
Yes.
Mia Wasikowska, great fucking movie.
Yes.
But the music, as we mentioned, very unique.
Again, it's very sad. I like sad music. It's okay to be sad. If you just want to feel sad, watch this movie. It's got one of the most depressing scenes, honestly, in any recent movie that I've watched.
Oh yeah.
It's very heavy on mental health, but it's a vampire movie.
Right. Well, and one thing that I really like is the international influence in it. Like
Yes.
directed by Jim Jarmusch, who's just a really fucking eclectic, wild, out there filmmaker. He also had a cameo on What We Do in the Shadows, strangely enough.
Yeah.
But and you see like he's always had this very international flavor to his movies. And part of the movie takes place in Tangiers, and you get actual Tangerian music.
Yeah.
In the fucking like this very Middle Eastern kind of wild feel to this soundtrack that you would have never expected from a vampire movie.
No, because the way the cover is and like kind of the way it starts with him, and like you can see like Tom Hiddleston's character, he's very like moody rocker, he collects guitars and stuff, and I just didn't know it was going to go that way. But one of our favorite parts in this movie is actually a song that is on the soundtrack, and it is, you know, performed by an artist. I think that's actually kind of a bit of a celebrity there, and it's fucking beautiful because I love it whenever you get to see proper culture representation in a movie.
Yeah.
It's not shitty and bastardized the way some people
And from
tend
what
to
we've
do
read
it.
and looked up and discovered, this has been claimed as very authentic portrayal in this film.
Because it's something that I may have never seen.
Oh,
I don't-
I can tell you, I would have never
Right.
never experienced music like this from
I've
this culture.
never
Yeah.
left the country, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, we are very simple people.
Yeah, we
It's
are.
like, yeah, like I
we
said,
don't go far.
Yeah, that's why we're happy to reach so many people internationally.
Right.
It's like if you're hearing this in another country, like give us a shout out because
Yeah.
we'd love to know that. We'd love to know our reach is going
Yes.
to all these different places. But part of the reason that fascinates us is because of movies like this that bring something to us that we would have never otherwise
Right.
experienced. They brought a
Exactly.
piece of the world to us.
Yes, and in a beautiful way, and a lot of musical representation. And
Yeah,
it's fascinating,
it
and
is.
it's a sad, cool vampire movie.
It's such a good movie. I agree. Now, one thing you mentioned is that these movies are great to listen to in your spare time. One that we did want to give a shout out to that's not so fun to listen to in your spare time is the Insidious score, which is composed by Joseph Bishara.
Yeah, who's like also the lipstick demon.
Also, the lipstick demon also played a demon in Annabelle.
Yeah,
Like,
he
he's
plays
just
the
a good,
demon in Annabelle,
He's
yeah.
a good demonic
He is. It's not
Yeah.
just tiptoe through the tulips with me with this guy.
No,
So it's great because I love the score
Yeah.
for the movie.
yes,
Watching the movie, it's like one of those that if you
amazing.
fell asleep with the TV on and this like came on at 2 a.m, it'd scare the shit out
it's
of you.
gonna wake you up.
It
for
would
sure.
be the new like Celine Dion fucking screaming at you commercial from the 90s.
for just 2 low payments in 1999.
Exactly.
Those commercials. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
But it's so perfect for the movie because it's a lot of sharp strings.
A lot of plucking.
Yeah,
A lot
plucking.
of plucking.
I feel like this was the turn where people were like, "Hey, that's a really good sound. We should put it in every horror movie
fucking
trailer
movie.
ever."
Blumhouse. That's Blumhouse.
Blumhouse, it
Blumhouse
is.
did that.
We don't hate him for it.
No,
but
I
we're
love
it's
Jason
whatever.
Blum. I love
Yeah.
Blumhouse, but he is responsible for all those fucking trailers with all those strings and the plucking and shit.
Yes.
So, he's got to own up to it.
Right. But we just wanted to show like there's gonna be movie soundtracks that you're like and scores that you're like, I want to listen to this even though it's really creepy or it makes me sad, but it's all in how the movie is and how the music is. Because I feel like
Exactly.
if Insidious had a softer soundtrack,
It wouldn't be the same.
it just wouldn't be quite right.
No,
No.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the fear factor of Insidious.
Now, our next segment, we want to hit some songs and like some soundtracks that we just really found cool and we just kind of want to nerd out about a little bit. So
Yeah.
the first thing we want to point out is, why do vampire movies have the absolute best fucking soundtracks.
Literally, tell me a vampire movie with a bad soundtrack.
I'll tell you you're fucking lying, because I got one on here that is a shit movie but has an amazing soundtrack. Fucking Vampire Academy.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to get that out of the way because
Let's
it's
just
like
get it out of the way. It's garbage. We
is
love
a
it. We
horrible fucking
I think
movie.
maybe own it. I don't know. But it's so fucking awful and shitty, but there's something about watching this and making fun of it and enjoying the music, because you get the best fucking cover, in my opinion, of Bela Lugosi's Dead.
Yeah, Bela Lugosi's Dead, done by Churches.
Yeah.
One of my favorite recent groups. They also did a cover of Cry Little Sister for some show on Netflix. I don't.
Well, that's interesting because The Lost Boys.
Right, The Lost Boys is one of the big movies we want to talk about. I just wanted to get that shitty one out of the way real quick. Another shitty one I want to get out of the way before we get on to our big with Lost Boys and shit. Just want to throw this out there because it's not in our notes. Twilight actually has a dope fucking soundtrack.
Literally. Okay, so
I'll fucking fight people on that one.
I was in an interview with a vampire girl, so I didn't really turn into a Twilight girl.
No.
I'm just saying we're a little different.
It's
okay.
Just between us girls, I was not a Twilight girl either. No, for sure.
You know,
yeah.
I think I've only watched the first movie with riff tracks, but yes, I agree. The music for all of those movies are amazing.
I mean, you get Muse, you get Iron and Wine,
right?
There's fucking
whatever the
another,
fucking
there's
sad
another guy
song
on there
is.
that I fucking had his name in my head and I just lost it, but he's one of those like folky kind of singers and
Right.
shit. But yeah, you have like a great fucking soundtrack for Twilight too. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Vampire Academy, Twilight, two examples of shitty vampire movies, but dope fucking soundtracks, man.
Right.
Vampire movies always bring the heat and the smoke and all the other fucking analogies when it comes to fucking
They
soundtracks.
do, and it's interesting because I know a lot of the music from Twilight, even though I've only seen that one movie, and I know that it's a phenomenon, and there's a lot of people that love it.
That was the name I couldn't. That's the name I couldn't think of.
Thank God you
Bonnevier.
got that
would
out,
have
Stevie.
fucking been like holding a sneeze.
We would have been at the end of the movie. He'd be like, Bonnevier.
Bonnevier. Sorry guys.
It's
That
all
was
right.
my Tourette's for the day.
But yes, Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is the one that we got to talk about. 'Cause
Arguably the best vampire
hands
music
down.
movie ever.
And Cry Little Sister. Cry Little Sister.
Come on.
Oh, I love that song.
But there's a certain hot, buff, sweaty, oiled up motherfucker with a saxophone playing I Still Believe.
Fucking Tim Capello.
That, I mean, it wouldn't be The Lost Boys without that part.
It wouldn't be. And he's only on screen for like maybe 2 minutes the whole fucking movie.
And
but
everybody
he steals
loves
the fucking
him.
show.
Yeah, everybody loves him. He takes a saxophone to cons and shit. Like, he's fucking awesome.
He seems like a genuinely good dude.
Yeah,
like,
he's definitely
I
rad.
love listening to him talk about his experiences and
Yes.
movies and music and everything.
And I'm glad he got to give us a bunch of hip thrusts at a weird little music show on
While
the beach
Jason Patrick
Santa
made
Carla.
eyes at Star. Yeah.
I don't see. He barely even made eyes. He was just fucking staring her down.
It's such a good movie. And then you have Lost in the Shadows, which is one of our favorites, when they're fucking racing the bikes and shit.
On the beach.
Oh,
Like,
it's
that
so
shit's
good.
fucking amazing. And
Is the lead singer a foreigner? Lou Graham does the song, and it just feels like a fucking foreigner song.
it does.
It really
Very
does.
much
Like,
so.
I adore it.
Now, Interview with the Vampire, obviously a very pretty score. It's kind of, period classically music
True,
that you
true.
get. But you get Guns N' Roses as well.
At the end of the fucking movie,
Yes.
when he attacks Christian Slater in the car, he
Yep.
puts on the radio, and what's playing? It's fucking Guns N' Roses cover of a great Rolling Stone song called "Sympathy for the Devil," and it's as great. It's almost like it's told from the perspective of Satan. It's great,
Right.
fucking great track,
It's a perfect Lestat song to turn on the radio.
100%. And it's Guns N' Roses fucking doing the cover.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely adore everything about it. We're gonna talk about one of your favorites
Okay.
though.
Okay. This changed.
Because we're talking about Interview with the Vampire. We
Right.
gotta talk about the other Lestat movie.
Yes. So
Queen of the Damned.
Queen of the Damned forever changed the trajectory of my life. I've seen people call this movie a fever dream. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a shit adaptation of the book, but it's a great movie. But
Hands down, one of the most fun movies I've
It is.
ever seen. I adore this movie.
it's not the highest rated, but it's got some of the score is good. I will that aside, but obviously, if you've been living under a fucking rock, Jonathan Davis did all the fucking music that the Vampire Lestat band plays.
Yeah. And of course, Jonathan Davis, the lead singer of Korn. I assume everybody knows that, but I just want to make sure that we explain
hope
that.
So he's not the goddamn Teletubby.
He's not the goddamn Teletubby.
Wow. But he gets a cameo in the movie.
He does.
But it's also really cool
Scalping
seeing
tickets.
Yeah, I love that. As someone who's bought tickets off of scalpers, that's it.
It's hilarious.
But you get Stuart Townsend, who has to sing and line up basically with the fucking music. So yeah, he did have to like learn it to be able to properly sing it in the proper beat.
Of course, yeah. Because I do give Stuart Townsend credit, or the editing department, whomever.
Fuck yeah.
They did a great job syncing it up, because you would never know it's not Stuart Townsend.
And for some reason it works.
It does.
I don't know how Jonathan Davis's voice coming out of him, but the way he looks in that movie, it does work.
I do want to point out, I'm still bummed that we don't have an official release of Jonathan Davis's versions of the songs. We have his live, I think it was called Alone I Play.
Yeah, and they're beautiful.
Live,
they're beautiful sounding, but I want that heavy shit.
I want his versions, because the ones that got released were the covers by, David Draymond, Chester Bennington, Wayne Static, Jay Gordon.
There are a few that you can get, because if you remember, or if you ever did this, on like one of the bonuses on the DVD, there were like the music videos that you see in the movie.
Are you talking about ripping DVDs? Wow.
Maybe.
Yeah. I remember those days. If you're a millennial, listen to this, which according to Anchor, most of you are.
Right.
You probably remember ripping and burning. Those two
burning.
verbs. Ripping and burning.
I'm not going to explain what it is,
generation.
because if you're listening and you don't know what ripping and burning is, go look it up.
Go look up Nero. Go look that shit up, dog.
Fucking LimeWire. But Queen of the Damned too I love the fact that you have Jonathan Davis doing the music, but then, like you said, for the physical soundtrack release, you had all these other artists come in and cover the songs that Jonathan Davis wrote for the Vampire Lestat.
It's wild. It is. It's a wild trip. But yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful soundtrack done by Jonathan Davis for a really fun fucking movie.
It is.
Last one we want to hit on vampire movies. Fright Night, the theme song by Jay Giles Band. Fright Night.
For obviously Fright Night.
It's so cool, so cheesy. Perfect 80s feel to it.
Good 80s.
I love it, and it's just, it adds to the fun nature of the movie.
Right.
Fright Night is such a blast.
The soundtrack of Fright Night alone is a delight. I love Fright Night 2. The music is also similar vibes, probably done by the same guy.
Probably, a lot of similar
but yeah,
stuff
that Fright Night theme is just so fun.
It's so good.
It feels like you would hear at the end of a show on like a late Saturday horror host show. So.
Yeah. Now, there are some non-vampire movies that had some dope musicality to it. So we'll talk about those too. First one we got to hit real quick. The Craft had an amazing version of How Soon Is Now. It's originally done by the Smiths, but fun story. The Craft, the Persian that appears in The Craft and later went on to become the theme song to the show Charmed, is by a band called Love Spit Love, which is an offshoot of the Psychedelic Furs, another popular 80s band that played along with the Smiths. So there's a great,
it's a little loop, a little circle.
Right, it comes kind of full
circle
somewhere there, because it's basically another 80s new wave kind of band similar to the Smiths, doing it in a different version, updating it. And it just fit the vibe of The Craft and Charmed so fucking much.
It does. Very much so. It's a witchy song.
It feels very witchy. Yeah, I agree. And I've always loved... his name escapes me, but the lead singer of the Psychedelic Furs has always had... I love his voice.
Yeah.
Because when you listen to songs like Pretty in Pink and Love My Way, like some of their bigger hits, his voice is just so... like we talk about softness, he has a very soft, soothing voice. Like that dude could put me to sleep. It's a very chill voice.
I understand that.
Yeah. Next one we got to talk about Scream and that fucking use, the way they use Red Right Hand.
Red with that bell.
Hand.
Yeah, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I'm pretty sure that they've worked this song into every single Scream movie.
Every one of them so far.
Better be playing on the subway or some shit in the sixth one, or we're going to fight.
Yeah. If it's not in the sixth one, it's not going to feel right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Red Right Hand is one of those songs. Immediately, as soon as it comes on, I used to think of Hellboy, because Red Right Hand.
Yep.
And it was used in a lot of the promotion for Hellboy. But man, it's like you go back and watch Scream and you're like, it's Scream's song.
It is.
It is Scream's song.
It really is.
I think of Sydney and fucking Gail and Dewey, and it can't help.
Yep.
Gotta talk about the Crow soundtrack.
I love this soundtrack.
We bought it on. We just bought it on vinyl. That's how
Yes.
much we love this soundtrack. We don't
Yes.
own a ton of vinyl.
9 Inch Nails and The Cure alone.
Right.
I mean, obviously, all of it's fucking
Yeah.
magical. You
Yeah.
even get a little guitar bit played by Brandon Lee in the movie. You know, he's kind of rock starry in the movie, even though we don't get to see too much of him in his day-to-day life because he dies in the beginning of the movie.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But yeah, the music, it adds to the griminess of
I think
the
Stone
city.
Temple Pilots was on the soundtrack as well.
Yes.
It was a
Yes.
very good 90s hard rock. Kind of fusing, like you had industrial, like with 9 Inch Nails. You had the Cure, like you
Industrial,
mentioned.
goth.
Yeah, goth.
Metal,
Kind of
yeah.
emo, kind of like
Grunge,
new wave.
it's
But Pantera was even on it. So
But
you had a little heavy
somehow-
metal.
right.
It was weird, yeah.
but somehow it all works
It all
together
fit. It
because
all
some of
fit.
it, you know, you've got scenes like in the bar and club and stuff.
Fire it up. Fire it up.
Right. And obviously there's different music in the bar as opposed to this sad, dreary street view with the
Yeah.
9 Inch Nails song
Oh, I
playing.
love the
but
9 Inch Nails song.
it's iconic for, even though those songs they weren't made for the movie, but they just work so fucking
They really
perfectly
do.
for
It was, yeah. It's one of the best soundtracks that's out there.
Yeah.
One thing we got to talk about. We've talked about this on the show before, but the scene in House of a Thousand Corpses, where Otis shoots Walton Goggins' character, the cop, in it's
like
I Remember You.
The 40-second fucking pause when the song ends.
Right.
But yes,
Right. The song
this
is I Remember
something
You.
Rob Zombie does that I love, and
Yeah.
probably all of his movies, where he has a song that's playing over something really fucking crazy that's happening. It doesn't work for the scene, but it works for the scene.
Right.
Because it's one of those moments where shit goes south. Like the cops have found them out. The cops fuck up, basically, and the Firefly family is ready for them.
Yes.
And you don't hear what anyone's saying, but you see all this shit happening, and it's just this happy little fucking country vibe. I don't know what kind of genre I would say this song is.
It's very early country. It feels very
okay,
like
yeah.
Loretta Lynn, early Dolly Parton type stuff.
Yes.
I forget the artist's name, but the song is called I Remember You. And I have a theory about this song. I don't think we would have got this scene if Rob Zombie didn't have to whittle down the rating. I firmly believe, because if you think about, because we've looked it up, what Otis says to Walton Goggins' character.
Because you see him mouth it.
It's very graphic.
But
and
if you read the screenplay for the movie.
Right. Read the screenplay. We have. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's how much we love this fucking movie.
Yes.
But yeah, read the screenplay. It's very graphic, and it's very it's fucked up what he says
Right.
to Walton Goggins' character.
Well, you also get even not just that, but when the song starts is when the cop and the father who's looking for his daughter,
Denise's dad,
open up the barn because they hear something.
Right.
And that's when the song starts, and obviously what it would be definitely one or more women screaming for their lives.
Exactly.
In a very graphic, bloody scene that is the horror barn, as I would call it.
We only get quick glimpses of it, but obviously these women have endured a lot of trauma and torture, assault, and everything up to this point. So again, my theory is that Rob Zombie put that fucking nice, soft, happy music over it just to get the rating down and cover up some of the shit the way it had to be edited to get an R rating. I will fucking put my money on that.
I would love to get a confirmation.
I will put money on that's the only reason why Rob Zombie did that. But it works.
It does.
I'm not complaining.
No, not at all.
I'm saying that it's funny that it happened and it worked out that way because I don't know I would enjoy the movie as much if it were more graphic.
Right.
If it did cross those lines. Because obviously there's a lot of things, we've talked about this privately, but I don't think we've ever really gone to this in depth in the show. But there's a lot in the movie that is implied but never shown, and we like it that way.
Yeah. Whereas in A Devil's Rejects, there's a lot of implication, but there is a scene where there's too much shown for our taste, and honestly, even the people who worked in the movie were like, this was hard to fucking do.
Right.
And I feel like that would have been a scene that if it had some happy music and a cutaway, we probably would have been like, well, things are unfortunately happening.
Right.
But yeah, there is a lot of implied, but not going so far in House of a Thousand Corpses.
And I think the scene is a big part, is
Yeah.
a big emphasis on
I'm with
that
you.
too.
I
I think
agree
that's a
there.
big example. Got to talk about Pet Sematary and that fucking theme song by the Ramones.
Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a bop.
It is a bop.
Yeah.
And I love it when horror movies do this. I honestly wish more would do this.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we don't get as much as we used to. And it needs to make a comeback.
It does need to make a comeback. I love the story of how this came about, though, which one of the Ramones was friends with Stephen King, and they wanted to work together so badly. So this is the opportunity that when they cashed in on that. So I just think that's so cool that they were like so tight that
It is.
because you think about the Ramones, like they're above doing a movie soundtrack, but no, they were tight with Stephen King.
Right.
They wanted to do a soundtrack for
Fuck
one of
yeah.
his movies. Like
I think most artists would be like, yeah, Stephen
that's,
King, yes, sir.
That's so cool. I love that it's just kind of a bro thing. The reason they're on it,
It
because
is,
I would have
but
never
now-
thought that they would have done that song.
But now we have this fun little happy fucking song about the Pet Cemetery,
Exactly.
and I love it.
Exactly.
It's fucking great.
Yes.
Another one that it's not necessarily a specific, but it's something that I feel like I kind of noticed a lot in the early 2000s is that we had a lot of really good curated soundtracks, and Saw was one of those that we got some of like the best collections of cool heavy metal music in a soundtrack. Charlie Clouser aside from his cool fucking music. And it's just one of those, I don't know why it sticks in my head.
Well, I remember we got one of them. It was Mudvayne, "Forget to Remember," which is actually one of my favorite Mudvayne songs. I really dig that track.
Yeah.
So there's actually some really good music
Right.
to some of those early soundtracks.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah, you had. It's funny because looking back, I think Avenged Sevenfold did a song on one of the soundtracks. I want to say maybe even fucking Seven Dust. I know Saliva did a song. Like some of those bands that I really dug, like those new metal bands, they were on there.
Yes, and I just totally realized I don't know how the fuck we spaced this, but with vampires, this also goes into the fact that Underworld had some of the coolest fucking soundtracks.
Oh yeah, we do got to give some love for Underworld.
Yeah, I know it's on the vampire movie list there.
Yeah.
But we got some really cool like remixes and shit in the first movie. There was even like a remix of a Hawthorne Heights song, if I remember, that was absolutely fucking bananas and sounded
Slipknot
amazing.
was on one of the soundtracks too.
Yeah.
It was like, that was a good one. There was some really heavy shit. Kind of like the Resident Evil soundtracks. Where it was like a lot of those good, like we were talking about with the Saw soundtracks, a lot of good new metal bands. Like there were those new metal soundtracks that were just everywhere because of Roadrunner Records.
Yeah.
and
But then like
Wind Up
moody shit
Records.
like A Perfect Circle was included in there
Yes,
too.
A Perfect Circle. Yeah, they were on a lot of the Resident Evil shit. They had that.
Yes,
I remember
absolutely.
that for sure. Yeah.
Which, I mean, Resident Evil, it had a lot of good, solid fucking music on there.
They had some good music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so it's funny. You were talking about Saw, and I think it got us thinking about some of those other new metal-y kind of soundtracks like Underworld and Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And all that shit. Yeah, that shit was everywhere, though.
It was.
Like, even like non-horror movies. Like, I remember a lot of the Marvel movies like Daredevil and Fantastic Four had very similar soundtracks. It's fucking crazy to think about. But yeah, it's like, that was a big theme and then it just kind of went away.
Well, and I don't know if it's necessarily it went away. I feel like it's just, there's not as big of a deal about like album releases the way it used to be. Like, it's like, oh, you can stream it 2 Thursdays from now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, we kind of made a big deal about going to the store and like getting a cool limited edition. We're all about physical media collecting and stuff. But
we eat that shit up.
yeah, I think it's a little bit different how they make movies. It's not so in your face with the music.
Yeah.
It's usually, it's like, it's in the background and it's there.
Well, and another thing we didn't have in our notes that I think we should probably give a shout out to as well is because we got so excited when fucking Ghost did Hunter's Moon for Halloween Kills.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was so fucking like because that was like the first time in how long
Right.
that we got like an artist who was like the theme song performed by Ghost, and you're like, holy
Bingo.
shit, this is cool.
Like, and I think it had like its own single release and stuff for it too.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I knew who Ghost was. I'd seen their shit,
Yeah.
but I didn't really get into them
Yeah.
the way I am currently obsessed.
Yeah,
until...
you and I will admit that we were
Yeah.
we were aware of Ghost, but we weren't
Yeah.
fans until Hunter's Moon came out.
Yeah, I was
and
just
that
like-
totally won us over, and then we just like did a deep dive into their whole discography.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
it
it's
was
like I would see their imagery, and obviously I'm all about that And I was just like, their shit always looks so cool, but they just, I don't know, I just thought that they were a different type of music, which is interesting because I've seen so many people be like, oh, people think Ghost is like this evil shit, and then they're like happy boppy.
I mean, they're evil,
all over
but
the place.
it's just it's like it's still very happy, cool, kind of
Yeah.
enjoyable music to listen to. I
Exactly.
fucking love Ghost.
They are.
Papa
They're fucking
Emeritus
awesome.
all the way, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the some of these curated soundtracks, we're going to get to Freddy vs. Jason, but while we're on the subject of Freddy vs. Jason, we got to mention how back in the 80s, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, Alice Cooper did the theme song for a Jason movie. It's
Yeah.
called He's Back, The
Yep.
Man Behind the Mask. And it's
The man. Oh my
Behind the
God.
Mask.
It's
Yeah.
so fucking great. I love it.
Cheesy 80s goodness, man.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I love Friday the 13th. It's one of my favorite horror franchises because it's just it just got more absurd and more bananas the longer it went on.
Yeah.
And part of it is it got a fucking Alice Cooper song.
Right.
Like
exactly.
what fucking other movie do you know in the 80s that got an Alice Cooper fucking song?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. He's such a fun seeming fucking dude.
Alice Cooper?
Yeah.
I love Alice Cooper.
And I feel like this is the most 80s thing you could say. It's like, hey, there's a Friday the 13th. It's the 6th one.
Fucking,
And
yeah.
you get an Alice Cooper song.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool as hell to me.
I agree. But yes, that does bring us to Freddy vs. Jason, which we kind of touched upon it last week in the decade of horror, the 2000s. Just fucking Freddy vs. Jason was one of those curated soundtracks that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Fucking bands like You'll Never Hear Again, like Il Nino and Spine Shank.
Right.
Like you don't see those names anymore.
No, not the way they used to be, yeah.
No. But Il Nino did a great song. It was the music video, even had Freddy and Jason in it.
God,
It was so awesome. I fucking go back and go YouTube that. Like go watch the video for How Can I Live by Il Nino.
I love how much Freddy and Jason have been in pop culture because obviously Freddy fucking
Robert
everywhere
Englund was
all
just
the
like
time.
fucking put me on MTV
He had,
every
like-
hour. I don't
right.
give a shit.
He's like in Pizza Hut commercials or some shit. And yeah, then you
Yeah.
get when Freddy and Jason came out, like it was just this huge fucking excitement. Like
It was like horror fans. It was like a Batman movie or like a fucking. It was like
Yeah.
a Marvel movie for horror fans because we
Right.
got Freddy versus Jason.
Freddy
bro.
versus
Like,
Jason was our Infinity War.
and you got to remember, it like had been 10 years since they fucking teased it
Yeah.
in fucking Jason Goes to Hell, Friday the 13th Part 9, when fucking Freddy reaches up and grabs the glove. Like,
Right.
It took them 10 years to get their fucking shit together.
Yeah.
And make this fucking movie.
But we got it.
We finally got it, and we got a dope soundtrack.
Yes.
Slipknot was on it. Seether was on it. I loved it. I thought it was a great one.
Now, something I wanted to mention, because we're talking about how there's a lot of music trends that they used to do that I wish that they would keep doing. And there's a remix that came out when Jordan Peele released Nope. I'm sorry, not Nope, Us. And it's the I Got 5 on It Tethered remix, which you hear in the movie. I didn't think that they were actually going to release it for me to hear, because I remember when we went to see Us, and obviously there's the part earlier in the movie where it comes on in the radio and you get him going, it's a classic. But there's the fight.
Is this about drugs?
But there's the fight later where it starts to play.
Oh, Red and Adelaide. Yeah.
Yes.
At the end of the,
And then
yeah.
it goes in all like symphonic.
Vroom, vroom.
And it just sounds so cool. And I feel like that's one of those that I kept hearing everywhere, and it made me more and more and more excited for the movie because I didn't see shit for it. Like I was avoiding everything because I didn't want anything to be spoiled, because I'm like, after seeing, Get Out, I'm like, Us is going to be fucking bonkers.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want anything spoiled for
Yeah.
me, but I heard that song everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I will say, I have a theory about this song, too. Because this came out in 2019, so just not too long ago, just a few years ago, right? And by that point, every movie had like a trailer, and they still do, where they have a slowed down version of a pop song.
Yeah.
Like I think the fucking 50 Shades movie had a Beyonce song that they slowed down, right?
Yeah.
And that's just like that's just one example, but every fucking movie trailer had a slowed down version of a really popular song.
No,
so
yeah.
my theory is that Jordan Peele looked at these movies and said, "This is fucking stupid." And he said, "I can prove how stupid it is. I'm going to take the one song that you would never think anybody could fucking make a movie trailer song out of, and I'm going to do it."
Yeah.
And he fucking took I Got 5 on it.
Right.
Literally a song about fucking drugs by Luniz, who
Yeah.
didn't have any, who's a one-hit wonder, didn't have any other fucking songs. And he's like, I'm going to make it the fucking song for us. And it worked.
It does. It works so well.
As you see with Jordan Peele, the way he does Key and Peele and all his movies, he will fucking, it'll be satirical.
Right.
But it'll be very intelligent. And that's why my
Exactly.
theory is that I think he did that as a way to say, you guys look fucking stupid, but I'm going to make it look cool. Because that's what he does.
And he did. And honestly, all of his movies, the music's been fucking delightful. I said nope because I was sitting there thinking about... That's why I'm not allowed to think about two things at once. But I was thinking about the music that you hear in like Jupiter's Claim and shit.
Right.
And it's very different, obviously, and so much
Extremely.
fun. But I got 5 on it. That Tether remix is something I love randomly. I just pull up on Apple Music and I'm like, I want to listen to this
It's
again.
so good. It's so good. They also, like, one thing we have in our notes is the scene where their friends get killed, played by Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss.
Yes, and they get their smart home speaker, Alexa ripoff, basically, to try to call the police.
Yes. Yeah, and instead of calling the police, it plays "Fuck the Police" by
Yes.
NWA. So
Fuck
these
yeah.
people are getting murdered by their doppelgangers, while "Fuck the Police" by NWA plays on their loudspeakers.
I think it's a brilliant fucking use
so
of that
fucking
song.
cool.
It
It's
also
so
shows how bullshitty, because besides home like smart devices, I remember when Fandango first started, you had to call them to get show times.
Holy shit.
And you're sitting there on the phone trying to say show times for, and it's like, did you say? And you're like, fucking fuck
It's like
you.
movie phone. Remember
Yes,
movie phone? Yeah,
absolutely.
You've called movie phone. Oh God, I remember that.
We
shit.
are aging ourselves.
We are fucking old.
But it's always been problematic.
Always.
Always.
Yeah, we're pretty fucking old, and to prove how old we are, I'm going to quote a famous musician here, Don McLean, and the day the music died, because the music's dying, the show's over, this is the end of the episode. We've talked ourselves out, so
Yeah, we kind of have.
yeah.
There was a lot. It was fun.
It was a great episode, and yeah, we're really old, and we don't have much left in us, as we just talked about. So yeah, clock is ticking on us. Yeah, we're on
maybe.
borrowed time, but
Little bit.
yeah. We're old fuckers. And on that note, guys, thank you for joining us. Sorry the music has to die, but on that note, we'll leave you with this. Can't rain all the time.
Eric?
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every weekend. Follow us on TikTok at HorrorZoidPod and send emails to horrorzoidpod@gmail.com with your thoughts, questions, and stories for us to read on a future episode. To all our Zoids out there, stay scary.